All right. Welcome. Welcome to the KIMIYA Healing Podcast. Have you heard that phrase? Some people know the price of everything and the value of nothing. Have you heard that phrase? This is what's amazing. I want to talk a little bit about that. What does that phrase mean to you? You know the price of everything and the value of nothing. The truth of the matter is, there's some people in the world that do know the price of everything and will do extensive amounts of research before they buy a car, a house, a handbag, a fridge, a TV, whatever it is, a holiday, a hotel. Extensive. And what's amazing is those same people, when it comes to doing the healing work that they need to do to actually change their life and allow them to enjoy the house with their family, the holiday with themselves, in a state of inner peace, self-acceptance, inner love, connection, all those amazing things that are actually priceless, that allow you to actually enjoy the material world. They are often so resistant to actually paying for the work. Now, this is what's amazing, because you know the price of everything, but you know the value of nothing. Now, until you know the value, and I've spoken about this before, and I'll say it again, because too many people don't get this. Until you know the value of health, of mental health, the value of harmony internally, the value of peace, the value of spaciousness, the value of living your purpose, until you know the value of true flow, until you know the value of being yourself, that feeling inside, which is absolutely and utterly priceless, doing what you want to do, waking up with joy every day, feeling completely aligned, in receipt of divine love and mercy in every single moment. Until you know the value of that, you will not value it. End of story. And if you don't value it, you won't want to pay for it. So when it comes to healing work, the truth of the matter is, if you've been spending your money on objects of desire because it's familiar for you to operate at that level, but you don't actually know what the value of you engaging, interacting, and enjoying these desirable objects is, or you enjoying yourself even without these desirable objects, just enjoying your own presence, which is actually priceless. When you know the value of that, suddenly you will switch your expenditures. I know this because I've lived this. I only knew the value of material things. When I was in banking, my entire world, for those of you that don't know, I studied economics as my first degree before I retrained, and I went into banking and worked on a trading floor. So that was my first job for a big American investment bank. And all I knew was the value of immediate material things such as handbags, shoes, holidays, and restaurants. I knew the price of everything. I didn't know anything beyond that, and I didn't value anything beyond that. And it wasn't until I realised after several years how deeply depressed and miserable I was, how unsatisfied the people around me were, despite the multi-millions that they were making, the levels of deep discontent and self-hatred that existed. It wasn't until I woke up to that I suddenly realised I've been putting value and urgency and desire on all the wrong things. I've been getting my joy, what little joy I was able to milk from the material world. I was getting little droplets of joy. And I thought, this would satisfy me. And the truth of it is, it doesn't. It never, ever does. It cannot, because you are so much bigger than that. Now, your spirit is so much more expansive than anything that you can materially buy and acquire. Now, this is what's really important. I didn't realise this, and I had to go on a journey of discovering it the hard way. And that journey was, quite frankly, really quite disturbing, because I'd spent 3 years studying for this career. I'd spent every single summer working, doing internships in investment banks, slogging away the whole summer, trying to get enough on my CV that I would eventually get a graduate job and I'd eventually get accepted to work on a trading floor. And it all happened because I worked really, really hard for it. And then I had it, and it was just deeply, deeply depressing. And I had to then face what I had created, which was I had created a purely material paradigm because I didn't know anything else. I thought that this was it. This would get me happiness. This would get me contentment. This would get me the love of my parents and the respect from other people. This would get me what I wanted. It would help me to fit in. And having all those things materially really didn't get me any of the things I wanted to feel. It didn't help me to feel the way I wanted to feel. And I had to face that, and trust me, facing that was like falling off a cliff, because your entire identity has worked for many, many years to make this true. And then you're shown in front of your face, this is not true. This is not my truth. How can this not be my truth? I've lived this as if it is my truth. I knew the price of everything and the value of nothing. So when I then went into my second career, I had a period where I went through another crisis and decided I was going to leave it all behind, leave my tech job behind, and I went to train in India to become a yoga teacher. This was many years ago. And I literally left everything. And I came back from India, and I sat in my house, which had pretty much nothing in it at that point. I think I barely even had any furniture. And I remember just sitting there like, well, what do I do now? And I had a couple of classes a week teaching yoga. So I think at that time I was earning about £50 a week. And I remember one afternoon just reading yoga philosophy, and I was eating dal and rice twice a day because it was the cheapest thing to make. And I honestly felt rich. I honestly felt rich. For the first time in my life, not having very much, I felt rich. And it wasn't because I didn't have very much. It was because I had space within me. I had space. I had clarity. I had peace. I had stillness. I had connection with my body. I had my curious, wandering mind being ever more enlightened by what I was reading and exploring and discovering and questioning. And that was really fueling me. And I was excited, more excited than when I would book a holiday or buy a handbag in my previous life. So I started to discover the value. And it really stuck with me. And I think you've got to go through the journey yourself to come out the other end and go, okay, I'm going to switch up what I value. I'm going to change what I value. Because you can't do that without experiencing the deep discontent phase of life. And when I started to do healing work with plant medicine ceremonies are not cheap. Plant medicine ceremonies, especially if you're traveling to do them, as I was, because they're not legal in the UK, you have to travel abroad to where they are legal, like the Amazon jungle, etc. And it's not cheap. Now, you don't just do this once and expect an epiphany. I've worked with plant medicines well over 100 times. And the point is, I committed to spending my money, what money I had, I committed to spending my money on healing work, consistently healing work, not just a one-off ceremony, never to be spoken of again. I consistently worked with plant medicines for 3 years. So any time I would accumulate money, I would then go and invest it, and I would invest it in a healing opportunity for myself. Now, that's because I learned the value of healing. I learned the value of investing in something deeper than the material realm for myself, and I started to experience things that were priceless. I knew what I was experiencing was priceless and could never be bought. I knew that it doesn't matter how many billions you have, you cannot buy the experience that I've just had. You cannot buy it. That is so deeply priceless. There are no words to even describe it. And I knew one day all of this is just gonna really land within me and constellate within me, and it's all going to mean so much. It's going to be so part of my path and my purpose. I had no idea how, but I just knew I needed to do it. When you're on that track, you do not think about how much does it cost. You think about you know what you want to get from it. You know what you want to get from each session, and you are 100% in, 200% in, because it's your consciousness that decides what you get, nothing else. The space needs to be deep enough, yes, but you decide how deeply you want to go, right? And as soon as I realized that I had healing work to do, and that I was not getting fulfilled in the material realm, and my existence had to be more than just a physical body and a mind. When I realised the pain of living like that, and I started to go deeper, instantly I knew, I'm onto something. I'm onto something priceless. This is so valuable for my human experience and for my future, that I will invest everything I've got to make the most of every single session that I turn up to. And I would turn up to each and every ceremony with pages and pages of what I wanted to work on, the fear within me, what trauma I wanted to heal, what blocks I wanted to dissolve, what I needed to understand, what I needed to see, show me, teach me, learn, show me, teach me, help me, show me what I need to see, help me so that I can, teach me so that I can, right? Always, every single one. And I would have pages, I remember, and I would get so much from every single session that I did. I would go so deep within the first few hours. I remember getting everything. I remember getting everything I asked for and more, and then realising I still have got 12 more hours or 10 more hours of this ceremony to go. And I'm fully gifted. I'm I've got everything I ever wanted. Now what? Now what do I do? Now all I do is bow down in gratitude. And so that's what would happen. And then I'd get up at the end of the ceremony, we'd wake up in the morning and I'd hear what people had experienced. And they'd be like, oh, yeah, it was cool. I saw a few fractals and yeah, I didn't, not much though. And I think, wow, is that it? And some people would be like, oh, I just fell asleep. Nothing really happened. And I would just be like, oh my God, I've just turned my entire ancestral line into gold. I've just healed an issue that's been bothering me in my body for 4 years. I've just realised the deepest purpose and point of grief that I've been holding for so many years, and transmuted it to love and realised why it's love and why I've held that as a gift to myself, and why I cannot even describe the things that I've experienced. And people will be like, oh yeah, how did you do that? And I'm just because I wanted to. Because I set the intention to go to do it. I've come here with my lists of what I want to work on for myself. Be like, oh, okay. Now, that's possible whether you're doing plant medicine ceremonies or not. That's possible when you do somatic release work, when you do trauma healing, when you do energy alchemy, when you do womb alchemy. That's the level that I expect my clients to be showing up to my sessions at. I expect my clients to be showing up with full intention of what they want to do. And that's available and possible for every single human being. The reason I'm telling you my story is because I came from 0 levels of awareness, right? I had no interest in any of this stuff. I'll be honest with you. I was fully in the matrix. You couldn't have got me out. I was married to the matrix. So for me to go from that point to being able to receive everything that I've received and opened up to everything I've opened up, I knew it's possible for every single human being if you want it badly enough. That's the truth. But to get that, you have to be willing to face your fear. You have to be willing to go very deeply into your fears. And when they come up, you have to stay with the process. That's the point. You can't run away. When you're investing in a healing space, you're essentially investing in dissolving your fear and transmuting fear to love. If your fears come up and you're immediately like, I don't want to do this anymore, this is uncomfortable for me, or I don't even want to let myself talk about what these fears possibly could be, let alone process them somatically, let alone release them, let alone even transmute them into love, because I've integrated them that deeply that now I understand the purpose of it all, and let it fundamentally change me as a person and as an identity, let alone getting to that point. Just even wanting to brainstorm what your potential fears are. If you've got resistance around even doing that, all you're doing is lengthening your healing journey and making it something that could be, a number of months. You're just going to drag it out, and it's going to be potentially years and years and years. Because fundamentally, you got to be hungry and dedicated and believe in yourself enough to want to meet your fears. That's what this work is about. This is about shadow work and self-illumination. And if you were purely self-illuminated, and you have absolutely no fear, you would already be doing this work, right? You would have no struggle, no resistance to anything, no resistance in your body, no resistance. You'd just be dissolved into everything and feeling everything. And that is ultimately your potential. Now, the value that you put on each and every healing session that you turn up to is ultimately down to you. You can decide how deep you want to go and how much you want to get from it. And that's why I get some clients that come in and they are so ready to rebirth everything. They will go down into the pits of their hell to excavate themselves, because they are like, I want to be free of this feeling. I want to be free of this pain. And the only way I can be free of this pain is if I finally face it instead of running away from it. And they come in, they do the work, and they get a huge transformation. And every single session, they could write literally pages and pages, and some of them do, about what happened in each and every session. And then other times clients will come in, and even just to get them to talk about their fear, like, what could it be that you're scared of when it comes to going deeper into feeling your own body? Even that level of cognitive exploration is too much. Now, my message to you is that it's not too much. It's too much for your ego in your current identity. But it's not too much for your heart. It's not too much for your spirit. Because everyone has been traumatized to varying degrees. We are all holding very, very similar wounding patterns. The only thing that differentiates us is what we value, what we put the true value on. And when you truly put the value on yourself, your future, your health, your growth, your expansiveness, your path, your purpose, your happiness, your joy, everything that you are, being you, when you put the value on that, everything else falls into place. Because you put the value on the right thing. And then you know what you do? You stop looking at price. When you're looking at price, you know the price of everything and the value of nothing, because you do not have clarity on the value of the transformation and the work that you want to do for yourself. And it's as cut and dry as that. That's the truth. So the reason why people get massive healing outcomes and massive healing results and move forward with their life is because, quite frankly, they're willing to face their fear. They value going deeply within. They're willing to commit to the healing process, and they don't have hang-ups on external factors. Where is this going to get me? How many sessions do I need? What's the price? Etc., etc. All of these things coming from the mental model. And the mental model is often a model of fear. When I was going in, trust me, when I was going deeply into my fears, do you think the one thing I was worried about was what's the cost of the ayahuasca ceremony? Absolutely not, right? All I was thinking of was, is this space safe enough? Is this space deep enough? And do I have the space to integrate the vast amounts of quantum information, divine healing and depth and that I'm going to go into? Do I have the personal space to integrate and make the most of this experience, this 12-hour experience? Do I have the capacity to make the most of this experience over the next few months of my life? Those were my questions. Not how many times will I need to do it? How much does it cost? Right? Those are very surface level questions. You need to know the value of your transformation. You need to know the value of your healing, of your future. And you need to know the cost yourself of staying stuck with chronic health conditions, with chronic and debilitating levels of trauma that stop you from moving forward in life, that stop you from being in your true potential, not even in your true potential, that just stop you from living and feeling safe. Because we're not even talking about high levels of human optimization here. We're talking about feeling safe enough to exist in the world, right? When it comes to trauma and what trauma can do, sorry, I've got a bit of a cold. When it comes to trauma and what trauma can do to your body, a lot of the clients that come to me are not in states where they're optimizing their human potential. They're literally just trying to feel safe and function in the world. That has got to be the most valuable thing in your life, because you cannot build anything more valuable on top of that if you don't have that. That's the truth. You cannot build anything more valuable if you have got physical conditions in your body. You will not expand spiritually. You will not be able to expand, because time and time again, you will come up against the patterns and the movements and the vibrationary landscapes of your physical body. That is where your consciousness will focus on, because that is where you need to do the work first. That's where you need to get the resolution first, in your nervous system. When your nervous system is still, and your roots are still and deep, and you're anchored, and your womb space is open, and your heart is expansive and open, and you've integrated in your axis, your midline, you can expand safely, gradually, to whatever you want. But literally going there and expanding beyond that, the baseline, the most precious baseline, the most valuable thing is that sense of safety, being able to be in your body, releasing the trauma that your body is holding, regulating your nervous system, knowing your own sensations, being able to navigate your own inner landscape and draw intelligence and receive your own somatic awareness and intelligence, being able to heal yourself at a basic level, being able to heal your children at a basic level, being able to understand what is wrong with your children at a basic level. If your child is crying or in pain, being able to at least, do some soothing and do some work to support their system and their nervous system, that's like quite a basic level of attunement. But to be honest with you, society has lost it. Society has completely lost that skill set altogether. If you see the value of that to you in your family life, you will stop asking about price and you will start focusing on value. And then you will see that the value that you get when you commit to healing in deep space, like the one that I offer you, is beyond priceless. Absolutely beyond priceless. So Actually, this podcast is really, really important one. And I hope that you take from it the main point, which is if you focus on the price of everything, you will lose sight of the value of what you're truly looking for. Focus on the value of what you're truly looking for, and then you will see how irrelevant price becomes. Because until you get your baseline healthy, harmonized, stable, and the baseline is your body and the stillness of your system, until you get there, you can never go beyond into more expansive, creative, and higher levels of anything, including financial earning capacity, because your nervous system will not be able to hold it. You will end up collapsing back in on old structures, belief systems, self-worth systems, etc., etc. So if you're really looking to build something and you're really looking to get out of whatever rut you're stuck in right now, including a financial one, and all you're focused on is what's the price? What's the price? You're never going to get out. I'll tell you from now. You're going to get stuck in a loop. And you are stuck in a loop. Because what you need to get out is what you're telling yourself you can't afford. And therefore you don't do it. So you keep yourself small. You keep yourself stuck because you're focused on price and not on value. So there we are. If you want to hear more about this, you can listen to my podcast, How to Get 10 Times the Return on Investment on Your Healing Work, which is another podcast I've made in a similar on a similar topic. And you can also read my blog, where I've written a blog post about why pay-as-you-go therapy and pay-as-you-go, or as I call them pop-up healing sessions, why pay-as-you-go therapy and pop-up healing sessions are actually holding you back. So if that's what you're doing because you think you're saving money by doing a pop-up healing session now and again every couple of months when it suits you, that's actually a very dangerous way to do healing work, and you're not actually supporting yourself with a depth container to have any sort of deep resolution in, which is probably why you're still where you are now and listening to this podcast. So it's all possible for you if you decide that you want it. I had to make the shift internally by going through a lot of pain and having to wake up to the fact that I was pricing everything and not valuing what I needed to value. And when I did wake up and I did make the shift, I'm telling you, life changes. You feel rich, you start to open up, you start to be able to receive more, you start to heal deeply. Everything starts to flow. You got to unlock your own flow first. All right, my lovelies, that's enough for one episode. I will see you on the next one.